drop 'em. One hook and I'll rock 'em. One more and I'll stop 'em. Call the fighter, I'll lock 'em. Up 'em. If he reach, then I'll pop 'em. Street sweeper, I'll wash 'em. Homicide, come and chalk 'em. Drop 'em. One hook and I'll rock 'em. One more and I'll stop 'em. Call the fighter, I'll lock 'em. Up 'em.
The next topic we're going to discuss on Boxing Bros is would a win solidify Oleksandr Usyk as an all-time great? But of course, we're not doing it just like that. We're asking the same exact question. What would a win over Anthony Joshua mean for Oleksandr Usyk? And what would a loss to Anthony Joshua mean to Oleksandr Usyk? And we're going to turn it over to Conspiracy G.
I'll say this. For Usyk, a win puts him obviously in the running for undisputed. So that will arguably make him one of the greatest of this era, right? So that's a great victory to have. If he loses, man, I'm being honest, his skill sets are so good that I'm still going to consider him one of the top dogs in this era. So it's not just like I think of like with AJ and Wilder. I don't think it's over for those guys, right? Like Usyk, let's say Usyk does lose to AJ, right? But then Usyk, let's say, I don't know, AJ goes on to fight what's his name? Tyson Fury. And AJ beats Tyson Fury. Usyk already has a victory over AJ. You know what I mean? So then that could kind of like the community. Hold on, Ned. I got you. I'm just saying. This could push people to force AJ to do a trilogy with Usyk. So it's not over for Usyk. And it gives him another chance to still prove that he's the best of this era. Go ahead, Ned.
Gee, you once reported Usyk as Ukrainian soup. When you said Ukrainian soup, we wanted the media, the public wanted to know what you meant by that.
Okay. I think what you're trying to imply is, gee, you was wrong before.
No. When you say Ukrainian
I'm sorry.
soup, I think I never had, but it looks really hearty. But like, what is Ukrainian soup, G?
Anyways, back to what I was saying. If Usyk does lose to AJ in the rematch, it doesn't mean Usyk, well, at least for me, I'm being honest, right? Like he could still be one of the all-time greats of this era, right? Because like Usyk to me is almost like he's like Holyfield 2.0, right? He's not the biggest heavyweight, but the skill sets that he does have, you're like, yo, man, you got to give it to him. This dude is a monster, you know? And so even if Usyk loses to AJ in the rematch, he still already has a W over AJ. So it's still like, okay, now it's 1-1, you know? And on top of that, Usyk, all Usyk has to do is just beat, like, he just has to be consistent with his victories, you know, like, and beat other top guys, the top 10 fighters. Then it's like, hey, man, all right, AJ, you beat him in the rematch, but everyone's going to be like, yo, AJ, you got to run it back. They're going to say, yo, AJ, run it back. You have to do this three-peat. Nobody wants to see the Ruiz three-peat with AJ because the rematch was so horrible. It was such a one-sided fight. Ruiz was sloppy. He was fat. The dude wasn't moving. He couldn't even land punches on AJ. It was so one-sided that nobody's begging for a trilogy. With this Usyk thing, listen, and y'all know how I felt. Like Ned just kept it real, right? I was calling them Ukrainian soup. I was violating. I was disrespecting Usyk. What I seen Usyk do in that ring against AJ, I was like, yo, I haven't seen nobody in heavyweight division do something like that. No one. So even if let me just get this out, Ned, and then you can violate me. It's cool, whatever. Pause. Even if AJ finds a way to beat Usyk in the rematch, it ain't gonna be an easy cakewalk. So I know even if AJ wins, I'm gonna be like, nah, yo, AJ, you gotta get that man another fight. You got to. The heavyweight division is gonna call for it. People gonna want to see it. Why? Because Usyk's that talented. So Usyk losing doesn't knock him off of the running for the greatest of this era. It doesn't. Go ahead, Ned.
I got a couple questions for you right now, G. Usyk versus Wilder. Who you got?
Usyk versus Wilder? Yo, it depends. I'm gonna be honest. You see, and I'm not even trying to be funny. We know Wilder's gonna get outboxed, but can Usyk take a Wilder punch? So I'm rooting for Wilder, but there's a strong chance Wilder's gonna lose in that fight.
All right, AJ versus Wilder.
To this day, I'm telling you this. Till this day, Wilder's gonna knock out AJ. That's my humble opinion.
Okay.
You said two questions.
Ruiz, Wilder's gonna knock out Ruiz. I think that's the easiest fight for Wilder. Is Andy Ruiz.
All right. So for me, the way you've been parading around Usyk right now, it seems like you've seen the light.
Around. Watch your mouth. Just because I'm crazy. I niggas do respect.
Wow. That's wow. You've seen the light.
No, true. You feel me on this, right? That was mad disrespectful, right? Me showing love is parading around them now. All right, that's what up.
You know, and I feel like there's so much going on. I feel like AJ he messes up and then he bounces back. But this fight right here is like Usyk is really talented, and AJ is learning. He's still a boxer.
Ned, what are you doing? It's still G's turn.
You can have it. It's all you right now. I don't. Because I'm on Usyk's bandwagon or something. Like, that's crazy. You know what I mean?
So, G, are you done parading Usyk around?
Disrespectful, yo.
Go ahead, Ned. Since you can't wait to get in here, go ahead.
I need to get in here because, like, G, you paraded Usyk around. I'm like, Usyk, he's a talented fighter, and I love what he's accomplished. But we've seen his weaknesses, and I feel like AJ is a learner. He's a student of boxing, and it's like, yes, he has his downfalls, but he shows you he can bounce back.
Articulate Usyk's
Go ahead.
Can you please just explain the weaknesses that you're talking about?
Of who?
Usyk? You said Usyk got these weaknesses that you know of.
We showcased it on the show where Usyk is vulnerable to the body, and before we showcased that, Trill was like, Usyk can't take a punch to the body. When AJ hit him to the body, he clinched up. So those are the vulnerabilities. But I'm just saying, AJ has shown he's a student of boxing, and he started at 18 years old, and he's accomplished so much. And I'm not here trying to showcase AJ or anything, because I love Usyk, because Usyk has showcased so much, like where he's came up from cruiserweight. He's dominated the cruiserweight division. And at the time, I don't know what great fighters was in there, but
I just have a question.
Go ahead, G.
Because this is like the third segment. You keep praising AJ for
Yeah. Listen, let me say.
I just have one question. When did Wilder start boxing?
Same age.
So now you're vitriol for Wilder, but you have this, like, you have admiration for AJ for this.
Because AJ is running boxing. Wilder is just throwing him one punch. Wilder's one punch man. And one punch man is dangerous. And then, you know, on the internet everywhere, you go one punch man versus Superman, one punch man versus Batman, one punch man versus Spider-Man, one punch man versus Iron Man, whatever. One punch man can only land one punch. If you get out the way of one punch.
And that's not, to me, that's not impressive at all to you, Ned? Like, at all?
If you get out the way of one punch, if I got one punch.
Top 10 fighters, like, knocking them out.
All
dudes
time?
that are more skilled.
Top 10 fighters of all time.
Their whole life, and you're laying.
Is he top 10 fighters of all time?
What?
Is he top 10 fighters of all time?
None of them are. None of the guys you name are top 10 of all time.
I'm saying right now in this era, because the same argument you're making for AJ, you can make for Wilder. Because all of those champions that AJ beat, none of them are going to be considered top 10 anything of anything. Let's keep it real.
Right. This fight right here will dedicate
Charles Martin, Ned. Stop it, bro. Only one person is Klitschko, and the only one person is Tyson Fury. Those are the guys that people are gonna remember.
No.
Usyk come around.
And Usyk. It's only those three. Everybody else don't even matter, bro. What are we talking about?
Let me say this. After next weekend, the winner of this fight will dictate who is top 10 They will introduce themselves into top 10.
Top 5. They're top 3. What are we talking about?
Top 3. There's been a lot of great fighters throughout time.
Oh, you talking about overall?
Now he's talking about all time, G. Now he's talking about all
in
time.
this decade, there's only like the top 10. We can name the top 10 on our hands. Like, but I'm saying overall, this is like a dictating moment in history. Like this fight right here, AJ versus Usyk, is gonna let you know who is who and who you should not go against.
That doesn't make sense. There's still another person with a belt, though. Tyson Fury currently has a belt. What are we talking about?
He has I'm not bringing up Tyson Fury because Tyson Fury is in his own lane. Currently, he's retired. Let's get that clear. He's retired.
I don't know what happened.
What I'm saying is,
I don't know what y'all been doing when I was going. This is crazy. Now Tyson Fury's not a factor no more. Come on.
I'm not saying he's not a factor. I'm saying this is leading up to the fight of Undisputed, which what we all wanted was Undisputed years ago. Like 5 years ago, we all wanted Undisputed. We was arguing this in the gym with our favorite fighters. But now, I'm saying if AJ beats Usyk, he has to prove himself against Fury. If Usyk beats AJ, he has to prove himself against Fury. But Usyk, this is like this is a rematch. I don't want to quote Dragon Ball Z, but he goes Super Saiyan. He's like he has all the power. His level is on a different level of Fury. He's charged up. He's ready to go. He's ready to fight. He is the King of Kings. He's like I put on for my people.
Who's the King of Kings?
I'm ready.
Who's the King of Kings?
Who?
It's Lord and Savior Anthony Joshua.
Nah. Who's the King of Kings?
Yeah, come on. Let's not get into that. Come on now.
Nah, honestly, you just say he's the King of Kings.
He did it. He's like inspired. He's inspirational. Like he's charged. He's ready to.
Are you done parading Anthony Joshua around?
Yo, you gotta take AJ.
I told y'all from the beginning, I'm playing both sides. It's like I love these fighters. Like
he's the King of Kings.
Yo, respectfully, take AJ's box out your mouth, bro. This is getting crazy, Ned. They
really box. Like these fighters really
King
box.
of Kings. You serious?
It's a moment in history right now. Like you guys,
bro. That deserves a rally from the Boondocks. You know what I'm saying?
Yo, I don't know. Yo, this almost is like when dudes be praising like after they win and they I like to thank Al Heyman. Then they be like, I like to thank the Lord and Savior. This dude really just called Anthony Joshua the King of Kings. Lord and Savior.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
That's wild.
I said if Usyk wins, he's really the King of Kings. AJ really has to prove himself again. Like, yo, you won your belts back. But if Usyk wins, like he wins in the fashion where it's like you whooped AJ. Now you gotta go prove. Like now you gotta go like get your crown like from Fury. Like you gotta go get the last belt.
He already beat
Thanos ripping the stone out of Vision's head. Like that's what I'm saying. Like it's Thanos. Like yeah, give me that. But what's up?
He already beat AJ.
He beat him, but it's a rematch. The rematch is like.
But Ned, hold on. Let me ask you a question. Do you honestly? Can I remember back then you was trying to make an argument that you thought the fight was a draw, but we knew you was lying to yourself.
No, I wasn't.
Anybody who watched that fight knew clear as day Usyk beat AJ. So this is a rematch. So what are we talking about here? Like your argument only makes sense if Usyk fights Tyson Fury. That's it. You know what I'm saying? And beating AJ again doesn't really matter. It like really doesn't matter.
What I'm saying is, this is a great fight next weekend. Tune in. I hope nobody misses this fight. This is like you're playing your evening around this fight. Like you gotta enjoy this fight. Like it's gonna be a great fight. I don't know what AJ's bringing. I don't know what Usyk's bringing, but I know they're gonna bring it to this fight.
I blame Trill. I'm being honest. This is Trill's fault.
No, it's not. It's not Trill's fault. It's not your fault. It's not his fault. I was just telling you. If you really love boxing, you can't miss this fight. You gotta take a day off for this fight. If you don't watch boxing, you enjoy your life. If you enjoy boxing, you gotta go watch this fight. If you enjoy any type of sport where it's combat, go and watch this fight. Because this Usyk is about to get crowned Prince, because Fury done some stuff. Like I don't want to knock Fury for his accomplishment. But Usyk,
I'm being honest, man. I don't want to watch this fight with TV or Stretch. I feel like I'm gonna have to get y'all hugs at the end, man. This is getting crazy.
Yo, man, it's intense. It's intense.
You gotta give everybody a ride home afterwards.
Facts.
I'm just saying, this is a great fight.
I'm gonna be paying for y'all Ubers, man. Nobody drive, man. You know what I'm saying?
It's an intense fight. It's an intense fight, and I hope, G, you realize this how big this fight is. Like, there's so much on the line. I'm tired of speaking of it, but I haven't made my prediction yet. And this is insane. Like Usyk, if you win, you will be GOAT. You gotta beat Fury to be GOAT, but you will be GOAT because you came up from so much. There was so much. You cruiserweight to heavyweight, and then now you're about to face undisputed. That's a GOAT. That sounds like a GOAT to me. Like, we all talk about, like, for instance, Tracy McGrady. I don't want to go to NBA, but Tracy McGrady is a phenomenal player, but injuries limited him to being GOAT status. But we see players that be like, yo, he was so great in his prime, but certain things happen. I think AJ is a student in the game, and he shows you he learns. Like, when he faced Ruiz, he got cocky, he got knocked out, and then he came back, and then you made him look childish. I think AJ has that style where he has that mindset where he can fight a boxer and show him, like, I learned. I'm a learner. I'm not coming I'm not a right hand type of guy. Like, you gonna just throw a right hand against me, I'm gonna fall for it, and then he comes back. So I feel, but Usyk is also a monster. Like, he shows you, like, I box, I do this. So it's like, this is level versus level.
Yo, Ned, can I help you out?
Go ahead.
Please.
Right. When, like, making a point, writing a paper, or doing anything, right, you have to arrive at a conclusion. Right?
I can't. There's no conclusion to next Saturday.
Hold on, let me finish. You can't just
go
keep making supporting arguments and giving supporting facts and then, like, going around in a circle. I understand your point is that AJ shows the ability to learn. He shows the ability to make adjustments. He started boxing when he was 19, so to be where he's at right now is an amazing accomplishment, right? And you don't want to write him off because of his ability to learn. However, Usyk is extremely talented, shows high IQ, right? Is very dangerous, and has shown he's nothing but a winner, has won on all different levels. So it makes it a difficult fight to determine. We get that. But you just keep going back in circles, repeating the same stuff.
And not just that, you're comparing Usyk to Andy Ruiz, bro. Yeah, he look good. Making adjustments to a Ruiz. He's to a Usyk, though. That's the difference.
When AJ first adversity, he bounced back and showed you he made him look childish.
So what I'm saying, what I'm saying to you is, right, those are your points, right? What is your conclusion based on those points? Because that's really what we're missing. We get it. You're going over this all the time. What is your conclusion based on those points? All that means what? You said all that to tell us what?
Next Saturday, tune in. That's all.
You know what this proves? The Boston public school system. Y'all need some help. What is this?
Saturday, tune in. We don't know what's going down next Saturday. We don't know what's going to happen.
This is what BBS does.
If Usyk wins, the world's going to go crazy.
Here we go.
It's going to be a great fight.
Here we go again.
Hold on. Y'all asked me this question before. Y'all said, Ned, if Canelo versus Spencer ever happens, who you got? I'm saying it's gonna be a fight so crazy. Like, you gotta just enjoy the experience. This is experience you guys just gotta tune into and experience because it's gonna be so good. This is a great fight that's happening next weekend and nobody knows about it. And I am stressed over this fight. I'm being real with y'all. Like, I'm really like, I don't know who's gonna win. I really don't have a pick in this fight. Like, I'm gonna be real with you.
Well, hopefully you'll have a
It's just
pick.
too much.
Too
much going on.
get to the next segment.
Let's
I don't
go.
know if you realize this, Ned, but Trill hasn't even gone yet.
Listen, I'm just gonna keep it short and sweet. I let the TBE do his thing.
Yo, whatever it was.
Whatever it was, you know.
Yo, wait, you remember real quick, Trill? You remember the Boondocks, right? When they were playing checkers. It was like the first episode, and Uncle Ruckus was going on like about Kobe and like the situation, and he was like, "It get in your blood, and you don't know what you done. You just get a cool." And he was like, and he was sweating. He was like, "Give me a minute, Robert." He was like, "You need 5." That's bad, right? That's
Yo, this dude that started off the segment like this, praying like it's crazy.
Oh man.
Wasn't praying to AJ. I was just praying to maybe
Would a win solidify Oleksandr Usyk as an all-time great? The answer to that question: who are we going to get to play him in the movie?
I told y'all who.
That is the question. Who
Machine
we
Gun
going to
Kelly,
play?
baby.
Nah. He's gonna have to put on some weight. He's gonna have to put on some weight.
Fix that.
you know that CGI muscle.
Yeah, he's gonna have to put on some weight to play that. But shout outs to AJ as well, because I do agree with some of the stuff you were saying, Ned, you know, and that Kato had to clear up for you. Yeah, and he has shown heart. That's another thing that you can say about AJ. You know, when he lost, he wanted to go right back into it to get those belts back. That's a lot, because as y'all know, the bros know, I've been diving into old boxers and stuff and doing the history of boxing and of the older fighters and stuff for documentary purposes, right? And I came across William Harrison, right? So I'm sitting here thinking in my head, right? You got the greats like, William Harrison, who would lose and would not go back into immediate rematches. The only knockout that William Harrison received, he waited 13 fights to get back in there with it, the guy who beat him, right? And Joshua did that right after losing the fight. And then he did it again after losing the Usyk fight. So you got to give him credit for that. You know what I'm saying? You got to give him credit for that. But Usyk is something different. He's already showed what he did in another division. And he's trying to do that in this division. And how he's doing it is in spectacular fashion. You know, and I used to discredit Usyk with his size and everything. He has the 78 reach. He is in the footwork. This is an amazing specimen. You would have to. This is movie worthy if he wins. This is something you would have to put the respect and put him down as the all-time greats. Be a 2-time. I really don't think there's no stopping this man. There's no stopping this man. I was actually the only reason why, because I was like the size of these other guys. Because other these guys were so huge. You know what I'm saying? I was like, these guys is big. But now I don't even look at it no more. I don't even look at it like that no more. Oleksandr Usyk wins. He's definitely going to be an all-time great. And you got to put him up there on and with the other greats like the William Harrisons and the ones that came after him, because what he has been able to accomplish, you know. And I don't think that nobody's going to get in there with him after he does. It's going to be hard pressed to find somebody, and he's going to have all the belts. He's going to be like, why nobody won't fight me? And I got all the belts. Kind of like people are going to start calling him out because they feel like they can't win against someone like Oleksandr Usyk, who's fighting with the pride of his country, who's fighting with the pride of religion. I didn't realize with all this he brings to the table when he fights. I just want to give him his flowers because I think we talked about AJ so much, I want to give him Alexander Usyk his flowers because he's a great man inside and outside the ring. So I think that needs to be saluted.
I'll say this, Alexander Usyk, man, you may want to get the rights to your movie now before Hulu does it.
Yeah.
Before Hulu does it, and then
they'll definitely have Machine Gun Kelly play him.
They were gonna have to see Machine Gun Kelly doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, to be honest with you, like I'm gonna keep it brief. If he wins, what I'm gonna say may be an unpopular opinion, but I think if he wins, he may be like top 10 of all time fighters that ever lived. If he wins again, when you look at his history of winning the gold, undisputed at cruiserweight, and then we're talking about undisputed at heavyweight. Now, people bring up Evander Holyfield and in the accomplishments he had, which is similar, but not in the 4-belt era. And the 4-belt era is very difficult. You want to know how I know? Because if this wasn't the 4-belt era, Earl Spence Jr. would be the undisputed welterweight champion right now. The only reason he's not is because the WBO is now recognized as one of the titles you need to become undisputed. So now this fight has to happen with Terrence Crawford, which makes it even more difficult because you're talking about promotional companies, TV rights, you're talking about promoters, you're talking about networks that don't do what's in the best interest of the fighter sometimes because it doesn't impact their bottom line. So if someone was to become undisputed at cruiserweight and undisputed at heavyweight in the 4-belt era, it's actually a lot harder to do it now because there are more people holding more titles. And as you can see, things get more dicey. Imagine Anthony Joshua could have, had been undisputed without having to worry about additional mandatories. Right now, Anthony Joshua has the mandatory responsibilities of someone who was undisputed back in the 3-belt era. And if you remember the 3-belt era, they used to get rid of the belts as soon as they became undisputed because they didn't want to deal with all the mandatories. And he's having to deal with the mandatories to keep the belts. What happens when you keep the belts and you got to fight the mandatories is you got to fight guys like Usyk. And so if Usyk was to beat Anthony Joshua in this rematch, and G pointed out he's already beat Anthony Joshua before, so it's not like he's not doing something he hasn't done before, except you have to take into account the war in Ukraine. You have to take into account that he was just out there fighting for his country. Then you have to take into account the fact that pretty much while he was out there fighting for his country, there's some uncertainty as to, well, whether he'll get stripped. Well, they said the sanctioning body said they'll give him extension. But these sanctioning bodies are so greedy, they probably would have tried to find a way to strip Usyk, although he was defending and protecting his country. Because they need to make money. Right? So Usyk says his country, his fellow soldiers told him, go win for us. Do it for us. He's going to fight for the Ukraine. He was going to go pay for the TV rights so he can put it on in his country for free. So the Saudi organizers said, yo, we'll just let you show this fight. So this is the type of stuff he's dealing with. If he goes out there and wins.
That's Ali level, bro.
That's what I'm saying. They don't want to hear that, though. They get mad over that because they're like, oh, you can't compare him to Ali. And no one's comparing him to Ali. But what we're saying is, like, that's different.
Yeah, that's up there, bro.
Yeah. That's different. That's not.
Who said that you can't compare it to Ali? That's some
Ali
type ish.
Somebody got mad when I said that it's Ali like, and then someone got mad like, "Oh, you can't compare Usyk to Ali." And I'm like, "Yo, I said it's
we can
Ali
do whatever
like.
we want."
I know. I'm just saying. I don't. First of all, I think it's laughable because like one guy spent his prime years being banned from boxing because he refused to fight a war. And the other guy was actually out out there in the front lines fighting for his country, and would have still been there if people didn't say go and defend. So to me, it's very it's very comparable. Like So but in the end, my point is, if Usyk beats Anthony Joshua again with all this stuff that was surrounding him, I think it makes him legendary. I do. I think it makes him because he's going to add the Ring Magazine belt to the collection. He's going to add the Ring Magazine belt. The only belt out there is the WBC, and I think it makes him. I think it makes him an all-time great. If he becomes undisputed, that only elevates him. But I think this victory would make him like, damn, you can really make a legitimate argument that this man is top 10 all time. And people forget, I think Usyk has Usyk got like 20 fights, less than 20. Double check how many fights. We talk about what Anthony Joshua's done with a little bit of fights. Oleksandr Usyk doesn't have that many fights either.
But it's probably his amateur career is probably through the roof, though. You know what I'm saying?
But it doesn't matter because amateur is not pro.
Professional career is crazy. He got
Usyk. This is gonna be his 20th fight. Usyk has 19 professional fights, so this is gonna be Usyk's 20th fight. So he would have accomplished all the things that we're discussing right now in his 20th fight as a professional. And don't give me the extensive amateur career, because there are a lot of these guys who have extensive amateur careers, and then when they turn pro, they get knocked the hell out because the amateur style don't always translate to the professional style.
That's true too.
And even Vasily Lomachenko tried to fight for the title in his second professional fight and lost to Orlando Salido. So you got to look at what Usyk has done. If this man does all this 20 fights, how can you argue he's not an all-time great? That's just being objective. If you don't like it, then there's something wrong with you. I don't know what it is about Usyk you mad about, but that's not my problem. If he beats Anthony Joshua in this rematch with all the surrounding circumstances, he's an all-time great. I think you could argue he's a top 10 already. That's just my personal opinion, though. You're entitled to your own.
Let us know how you feel in the comment section. Please like and subscribe. Check us out on Instagram and Twitter. And please check out our podcast on all major streaming services. We are the Boxing Bros.